Welcome to Between the Pillars, a Texas Masonic podcast where we explore the rich traditions and contemporary issues of Freemasonry. Please note, the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policies or positions of any Masonic lodge, Grand Lodge, or governing body.
Hi, my name is Marco Pizana. I'm here with Matt Hendrickson. On this spotlight for this newsletter we're going to be having here for the next month, and I wanted to give the opportunity for Matt to talk a little bit about his journey, his information that he got when he started Masonry, and what he's been doing so far and how long he's been in. So let's start with the first question. Matt, you ready?
I'm ready.
So introduce yourself.
Matt Hendrickson out of beautiful Buda 800. I've now been a Mason for a little bit less than a year.
Perfect. So let's go ahead and go with the first question. So what inspired you to become a Freemason, and how did your Masonic journey begin?
So my grandfather was a Scottish Rite after World War II when they actually went through every degree individually. So he spent years in, and he achieved the 33rd degree in 1967 at the Austin Scottish Rite.
Wow.
So my family's very Masonic, and I've had a lot of friends that have been Masonic in my life. So
talk to me about how was your journey into Freemasonry? I think we talked about it, but go ahead and tell me a little bit about how you got started, where you're at now, and what induced you to become a Mason.
Okay. So probably about 18 years ago, I met Ricky Hayes. I think he's out of Wimberley, but he's also a member here at Live Oak and at Buda. He was a golf buddy. He was a good friend. He was always very excitedly talking about Masonry. Of course, not breaking the stricture of not recruiting me.
Absolutely.
But I always promised that I would go. I never went. And then after I moved down to Buda 2 years ago, I met Brother Russell Jones, strangely enough, again at a bar. And we got to talking about Masonry, and I said, you know what, now's about the time that I need to join. And I went down, and Ricky Hayes is a very traditionalist. He would not let me get a petition until I had been to at least 3 dinners and 3 different functions.
I like that.
So my journey in Masonry actually began probably close to 2 years ago. My time just between showing up to the lodge and showing my intent and getting a petition and getting initiated was probably about 9 months.
You were saying that Ricky Hayes is very traditionalist. I'm a very traditionalist as well.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy when candidates come up, or potential candidates, to visit the lodge. And when they visit the lodge, they get the opportunity to talk to other brothers that are here. My biggest thing that I tell them is ask each person in there, as many people as you can, about their journey. How did they become a Mason? What was the purpose of them becoming a Mason? So you can understand not only what their journey is about, but also understanding what your journey might be. So I am glad you went through that traditionalist. I encourage other candidates when they come to our lodge to go visit other lodges within our district, because every lodge has its culture. I really believe that as a lodge, as it grows, the culture is there. We have esoteric lodges, we have country lodges, we have blue-collar lodges, mm-hmm. and we have lodges that you have to wear a tux. And
white gloves.
And white gloves. And I don't have a problem with any of that. So my biggest thing is whenever I go visit a lodge, I always go in at least a suit, because you just don't know the criteria. So knowing that you were a traditionalist Mason that came up, so what was the aspect after that when you came?
My initiation, I've got to give a shout out right now. My lecture was done all 3 times by Byron Weber. Brother Byron
Wow,
Weber.
okay, I know him.
You were just talking about the suit and the white gloves. This man puts on, he's a one-man Barnum and Bailey. But he is the best, most projective person that you could ever have at one of your lectures. Okay. I was fascinated all 3 lectures. Now, granted, the first one was the most spiritual, because you could actually feel your brothers around you. You could feel the entire, the acceptance, the love. And at the end of that, you just feel changed. And it's never a feeling that you'll get again. Being passed to fellow craft it's kind of an in-between one, but it's still important in learning the journey as you go forward. And like I said, the master's was easily the most spiritual degree that I ever received.
So you did say that you are a York Rite Mason. So
I am.
Are you also a Scottish Rite or a Shriner?
I am not. Scottish Rite invited me to join. After signing up at York Rite and realizing that there are 3 meetings to go with each York Rite member, I don't have enough in my cable tow right now to work with those.
I will
when I retire.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I do see that a lot of new Masons, when they come in, will try and go through all the paths that they can to learn as much as possible. I really encourage young Masons to follow the Blue Lodge as much as possible before venturing out. But, hey, everybody has a journey, and as much as I know when I started, I wanted to go straight into York Rite, Scottish Rite, and I am a York Rite Mason, and so for the most part, I totally understand your journey, and I understand that there is a lot of meetings.
That's why I understand enjoy the York Rite so much, is because it is an extension of the Blue Lodge.
Yeah.
That in the South, the Blue Lodge comes from the York Rite.
So Matt, tell me a little bit about how Freemasonry has influenced your personal and professional life.
Well, I think that one of the things that has helped out the most is just taking the lesson of the 24-inch gauge, where it's divided equally into 3 different parts. With my life before, I was always having problems either overworking or overplaying or over something. It was always just something. And it's helped me bring that down to realize that this balance is what I really need in my life. And that has helped a lot with home life and with work life.
Sounds amazing. So is there any specific Masonic principles or teachings that resonate with you? I know you mentioned a little bit about 24-inch gauge. Do you have anything else that you would be able to share with us?
Without divulging secrets, no, but I will say that the charity aspect of Masonry has really been important to me. We've done a lot of stuff recently that has really fed my need for that, which I appreciate. So definitely charity is one of the most important aspects for me for Masonry.
So, I mean, I guess that ties into the next question. How do you contribute to the lodge activities and the broader community?
We have a very active lodge in Butte 800 and some lovely members, and we work a lot with the community on different things. I was lucky enough to work with the Junior Warden and the Worshipful Master this year to involve more of a community outreach with the United Methodist Church in Butte, and we were able to double their food donation for Thanksgiving this year from 200 to 400 pounds. We brought in 200 pounds, which means that we got to feed twice as many families as they usually do for a year.
That is amazing.
That is one of my things that I'm very proud of, and I couldn't have done it without the support of the Worshipful Master and the Junior Warden.
I agree 100%. So can you discuss any Masonic projects or initiatives that you particularly passionate about at Butte Lodge that you've either partaked or you've done?
I really enjoy the degree teams. I've been in many positions in them, and I'm constantly doing the education. I think that that's probably where my guiding path is taking me, is towards that line of thought, the education of Masonry, ritualistic work, etc.
Well, I'll invite you for April 26th. We're going to have the All program. I know you've done it before already, right?
I've done it twice.
So if you want to participate in educating other brothers, that would be an amazing opportunity.
I'd be happy to join.
So you heard it here first. Matt's going to be doing one of the classes, so I'm amazed about that. With that said, I did see some pictures online, and it looked like there was a destructive force that happened at Butte, and the only person I saw was you there in that picture. What was going on? What happened?
So the lodge that we currently reside in was not the original lodge. The original lodge was literally held up by 2x4s. It was a 2-story building that they would literally nail 2x4s to keep it standing for long enough for them to get through the meetings.
Wow.
That was torn down in the 80s, and I believe that our new lodge was built in 1986. And it was built by brothers who had the best intentions and a lack of carpentry skills. We did have a water leak, and the roof was causing some issues. We had some soft spots in the roof, and it just looked really bad, especially for new visitors and stuff like that. So I took it upon myself, and again, with the blessing of the Worshipful Master and the guidance of the Junior Warden, we got the drywall torn down. We pulled out insulation in there that was, I think it was more compost than it was insulation. And we've got the new ceiling up now. We're actually doing the painting on it this weekend.
Wow. So you heard it first. If you ever need any kind of dry work, no, I'm just messing around. But for the most part, I did see those pictures, and unfortunately I couldn't go out there and help, but I would have loved to. I did help in spirit. I was praying for him that nothing bad would have happened, but I think they did a fantastic job. I've been there since that occurred, and so the progression of Butte Lodge and the renovation, it looks great, and thank you very much for taking that opportunity and moving forward with that. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what advice would you offer to individuals considering joining Freemasonry?
I think that in the modern world, and I've had some discussions with some friends about this and brothers, we're missing a lot of the camaraderie and the fraternity and the brothership that you get out of Masonry. And I think that a lot of people are looking for that because it's become such a disconnected world now. The kids aren't talking to each other. They're texting with each other. They might not even see someone who they call their best friends. The lodge is where you can bring back your mental state to be in a social atmosphere and learn again how to be a social person. And it is the best brotherhood that you would ever get.
I'm going to 100% agree on that. I think the biggest aspect, I've been in Masonry since 2010, and that's probably about 15 years now. And I can tell you that before COVID, I think it was very different. And now after COVID has really made us introverts. Yeah, I would say introverts. So it's pretty amazing to see that that you have the same reflections that I do, that the camaraderie, not only that, but the social aspect of Masonry is coming back. I can see it. I can see that occurring a little bit more. Talking from our lodge here at Live Oak, I think it's an opportunity also for us to not only come together as a group, but to come together as a district. I think that's being a strong district in District 52 is definitely going to be the best aspect for us.
It is, and I think that one of the other problems that we have is as kids, when I was a kid, we had Boy Scouts, we had all sorts of things that we could go out and do. The Boy Scouts nowadays is not the Boy Scouts it was when we were kids. They make macaroni puzzles and have, full-fledged kitchens when they go on campouts. They don't understand what it means to have a brotherhood.
To rough it out.
And to have responsibility. I mean, that's one thing, as you've probably gleaned, I haven't been a Master Mason, not even a year. I'll be a year in June, but I take on the responsibility. They willingly give it to me. So that's how you learn. That's how you grow.
Absolutely. I think leaning on your brother is one of the biggest social virtues that we learn as Masons. And also as you learn in when you are in the Cub Scouts or in the Boy Scouts, is leaning on that brother or that person next to you, because in time of need, you really need that person to be able to confide in and talk to. So
I am my brother's keeper.
That is correct. So how do you balance your Masonic commitments with other personal or professional responsibilities?
Now, this is probably not a great question for me. I find that when I have time, I do Masonry things. And recently I've had a lot of that, so that's why I've been able to get so much done. But now that I've joined York Rite and we have an additional 3 meetings a month plus 3 additional education nights per month, I've got to start rebalancing that and figure out how to do it. But it's really not that much. I probably spend 10 hours a month in Masonry, doing Masonry things. But it's all about the brotherhood, and that's really, you have to include that with your personal life, because even though you're saying there's a difference between Masonry and personal life, sometimes Masonry involves your personal life.
So moving on to the next question, you did say that some of your aspirations in Masonry is the education aspect of it. Mm-hmm. But what other aspirations within Freemasonry, and how do you envision your continuing involvement or contribution to Masonry as a whole?
Well, obviously, as almost every other Mason would like at one point to be a past master, be able to vote in the grand in the grand communication. But honestly, right now, I just want to study the ritual work. I want to go through my CB and A certificates. I want to be preferably on the master's degree team and see how that goes. And
Matt, any quotes that you might have, or anything that inspires you, or that makes that you say on a daily basis to maybe just someone in general?
It's not necessarily a quote. It's just one of our mottos. We make good men better, and that's the truth. We have, and going back to the traditionalist thing, I think that it's great to get to know the end people before you start, and they have an idea. Before you walk into an interview and they say, yeah, okay, this is me, you should know before then.
So you've heard it first here, Between the Pillars, our first guest. So with that said, this is Matt Hendrickson.
And I appreciate our time together.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. And that's us. We are Between the Pillars, a Texas Masonic podcast. And also for our newsletter, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter and to our podcast. And we're having a good time here. And you have a good one. and we'll catch you on the flip side.
I'm from beautiful Buda, Texas, number 800. Brother Ricky Hayes, Brother Russell Jones, both very influential on my life, so they're instrumental on me being Mason.